What's going on, my friends? Sean Pierce Johnson here. I really don't know when this video is going to go up, but I would have to assume it will be a week since we learned the sad news of the passing of your friend and mine, the China Guitar Skeptic, aka China Mike. I've been trying to figure out the best way to address this because this is really the first passing of one of our greater guitar gear YouTuber community. It's not something that we've had to approach in any way, shape, or form. And honestly, these days, grief is a really interesting thing for me to process because my feelings on death have definitely changed over the course of the last couple of years. And, well, just like my beliefs have changed a little bit on certain things in the course of the last few years. But I won't get into too much detail about that. Let's talk a little bit about Lance, because I think that is what will be the ultimate tribute to the man who we loved as China Guitar Skeptic. I first became aware of his videos, I want to say, about 10 years ago. So really, about the time that his channel started. It was 2013, and I was going through a really rough time, and yet at the same point was still trying to keep my career going, keep my band going, and was getting ready to go out on a tour. Now, my bassist at the time, he really wanted to get a bass that suited him, and nothing he found in the stores was really gelling with him. And he discovered AliExpress and a builder offering to make him whatever he wanted as a bass guitar for a really, really ridiculously low price. I was immediately skeptical, like many people would be, because at the time, the idea of an instrument being made in China and costing as little money as it did was just not really a prospect that you wanted to take the risk on. And so through a Google search, lo and behold, I find the China Guitar Skeptic, this English guy talking about fake counterfeit Chinese guitars. And I started watching these videos, and I immediately sent them to my bassist, just saying, hey, this guy has some experience with it. It looks like he's really advocating for the consumer here, letting you know that there's some risks involved in this, and you should be informed about it. And he watched the videos. Long story short, he ended up getting the custom bass made. Maybe one day in the future, we'll talk about that bass and what needed to be done to it in order to get it tour ready. But that's another video, and it doesn't really relate to China Mike, as so many of us referred to Lance as. Long story short, we kept in touch via YouTube comments. We'd pop into each other's live streams from time to time, and we'd just start conversations. You know, there's this weird brotherhood that exists amongst us that do this whole YouTube thing, and sisterhood for that matter, where we just kind of get each other. We support each other as best as we possibly can, and we acknowledge that we all do the same thing. We try to do it differently. Sometimes we do it a little too similarly, but he was always just such a warm personality. He was always so friendly in his videos. His work was incredibly honest, and it wasn't trying to really get you to buy anything necessarily. And it made me very happy that this guy, who was a really nice person and doing some really great work, years later was starting to get some more momentum and attention, not just within the niche that he'd carved out for himself as the China Guitar Skeptic, but more companies were coming to him and wanting him to be a part of their demo guy roster. Now, we'd only conversed online in social media, like so many different friendships that I've had in this musical instrument space. And our first face-to-face meeting was NAMM of 2020, just before everything went nuts. And it was like we had known each other for years. It really was. He was warm. His smile was infectious. It lit up a room. He was a consummate gentleman, and just the kind of person that you'd want to spend time with, the kind of person that you'd want to be around, the kind of person you wanted to have as a friend. Unfortunately, I wish I could say I have a picture to show you, but I have no pictures of our meeting. I'm sure somebody may have a picture somewhere of us in a picture together, but I don't have it. And all I have is just the memory of that meeting, and it was a merry one. It really was. And subsequently, we did our best to try to stay in touch. It was really hard during that initial onslaught in the pandemic of trying to figure out how to navigate life, and sometimes things just fall by the wayside. So we fell a little bit out of touch, but as soon as he was updating people on his ALS diagnosis and his ongoing battle, I tried my best to, you know, publicly make him know that I was rooting for him. I was praying for him, and I was really hoping and praying for his recovery and his, long life. It's not, we know as guitarists with Jason Becker, it's not impossible for someone to live with ALS long term. And I was really hoping that Mike would get the chance to be one of those kinds of stories, because he was just such a bright spot. And I was very happy to see that even as his condition deteriorated, he still tried to be a part of this community, a part of this guitar thing that we do, and would provide health updates. And even seemed a month prior, his last video went up like a month ago, and was still saying that with the assistance of some friends, he was going to try to keep the channel going. And sadly, it seems that his condition just took a very sharp turn for the worse, based on what I've seen posted by his family, which I won't share the details of here. That's not my place to comment on. It's really strange. He was such a warm person. He was such a nice person, and I don't really know quite the appropriate thing to say other than he did some really great work. The service he provided to you all was unlike anything a lot of us that do this guitar YouTuber thing do. He went after something that I can certainly understand a lot of people wanting to go after: inexpensive guitars that look like the expensive thing, and making sure that if you chose to go that route, you knew the risks that were involved. And he wanted you to be as informed as possible. And for that, I can only classify that as like, that's the Lord's work right there. That's doing something for the betterment of your fellow man. That's doing something that really at the end of the day is about as caring as really anything. It's so hard to be genuine on these kind of videos, and yet he accomplished the ability to show his care in what he did. I'm going to miss him a whole lot. I'm just going to be very sad that we never got to have another merry meeting, that we're not going to be able to share another pint now that travel is really happening and NAMM is back. I'm sad that I'll not be able to go visit him when I make it over to the UK sometime in the near future. I'm sad that this bright spot is now dimmed. And I suppose the best thing that I can offer to his family right now is my sincere condolences and my love and my prayers, because he was a wonderful, wonderful gentleman. We all, as the community, are going to miss him, as creators and as viewers. You should be very proud of what he did, and you should continue to love him like he was still here. And so I want to close just by, first off, thanking God for putting Lance on this earth. He was a beautiful soul, and I pray that I will see him again on the other side, and offer these words that, when it comes to death, always comfort me so. All you know, I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. And so I'm just going to say this. The gray rain curtain of this world fades, and all turns to silver glass. And then you see it. White shores. And beyond, a far green country under a swift sunrise. And that's not so bad. We love you, China Mike. Thank you so much for what you did. We love you, and I hope to see you again on the other side.